Um,
Okay, we are live on YouTube. Hi, everybody. Yay. And I want to say welcome to the cafe. Grab your coffee or tea and pull up a chair. We got a nice show for you today, and it's fabulous because we've got Pamela here, we've got Ellie, we got Michelle. So it's going to be a fun chat. We actually have a topic today, common myths and misconceptions about tarot, but we will be taking readings too. I was asked by first name, last name in the chat, one of our regulars, and if you're unaware, so she put her first name as first name, and she put first name as her first name and last name as her last. It's hilarious. I just call her first because it like I it, you know. Oh, and she actually used the pink hand to
is
put her
it
question up.
first name, last name? I believe is Amy.
Is that Amy?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I try to remember names. It's
I
not
I
always
know
easy.
I know some of them, like Jimmy and all.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. In fact, I think Jimmy's in there
Nope.
too. So is
Nope. She's
Maria.
not Amy.
Oh, nope.
No, it's not.
Nope, nope.
I think it
Right.
starts with an E,
Oh
I
God, we're gonna
think.
have to guess names. Like, okay.
Oh my God, name that person
This is
instead of
gonna
name
I
be a
the
love
kid.
long
it.
show. Jimmy Kitchens. That's Green Earth Creations, and he's in the chat. Yay!
Hi, Jimmy.
Jimmy's always here. He's like one of the first ones in usually, although first name beat him this time and
Yep.
snuck in. Yeah. So before we get started, I thought we'll get the card of the day out of the way. Oh, by the way, sneak peek. Um, Jimmy asked a question and on the show yesterday, and Michelle answered it, and I pulled cards, and these are the cards I got, and I want to go over those real quick in a little bit, but we're going to do the card of the day. The Eight of Cups, one of my favorite cards, signifying moving on, leaving behind situations or relationships that are no longer fulfilling. Hey, we're in a 9 world year. This is when you need to let go. Things you haven't physically touched in your closets and your garage and everything like that for 6 months or 6 years. But also, literally, but also figuratively, like habits that no longer serve you, beliefs that no longer serve you, and even relationships. Yeah. And the Eight of Cups, it's about embarking on a journey of self discovery. It often represents a need to detach from the familiar to pursue a deeper sense of purpose or personal growth. And we were talking about that on a recent show about, stepping outside of your comfort zone, and that'll help your readings will actually get better. We did this whole show about your readings getting better, but it wasn't technical. It wasn't like, oh, doing this exercise or learning these meanings or this is how you should read it. It wasn't that kind of thing. It was things you could do that um tangentially kind of improve your readings because you're putting yourself out there, that kind of thing. So yeah, anyway, what's going
Anyway,
on?
I see we all got the memo to wear black today.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, black
Yes.
is slimming, so
It is.
yeah. And oh
It
my God, Ellie, you got to show yours.
Yep.
Psychic tarot card, something. Your shirt.
Yes, we got to see your shirt.
The last
Come
time
on,
Dax had
Ellie.
brought
We
it
need
up
to.
about wearing t-shirts that advertise being a tarot reader, I found this really cool
Yes.
shop on
Yeah.
Etsy, and they sell this shirt.
Ah,
Oh
I
Oh
my
my.
God. We need to make up a shirt like that and sell it.
yes.
Get
Psychic
all of our
Cafe.
members running around, and
Okay, well,
have Psychic Cafe and the Tarot Guild on it.
so Ellie, after the
That's a
show,
brilliant shirt.
we will all send you our sizes, and
Mhm.
that way you can just get them
I'll get
ordered
them
and
ordered
send
for
them
us.
to us.
We gotta have our club shirts. There we go.
Yes.
Get them ordered. Get them ordered. Nilda came in too. Another one of our regulars. Hey, Nilda. I did not.
Nilda.
I ran out of time. I did not promote this show. So it's only the people on YouTube that are getting the thing, the link or the thing popping up in their feed, which is really cool. We'll see what happens, right? And Maria's got a question. First name, last name's got a question. We'll get to questions in a little bit here. Let's go ahead and dive into the topic. So today we're talking about common myths and misconceptions about tarot. And it's not just tarot, it's, any cards, Lenormand, Oracle decks, things like that. And there are a ton of them. And the ladies are going to help me remember. I forget a lot of them because I try to do a list, but I forget a lot of them because, after 30 years, you know that they're myths and misconceptions. You know that things that people think are true about the tarot aren't, or that aren't true about the tarot are. My biggest thing is the whole oh gosh, now I forgot where I was going to start. The whole thing about that it's the deck. Like there's something magic about the deck. And, if you get a 200-year-old deck from your great, great, great grandmother, that it's imbued with the energy and the magic, and all this, it's cardboard. Well, this is actually PVC material. It's waterproof, which I love, the foil deck. But most decks are cardboard, people, and I know everything is energy. And so I'm not going to poo-poo the whole energy thing completely, but the way tarot works is it's symbols, and that works with your mind, your subconscious mind. And that's how tarot really works. You are reading the cards, and it's that goes to the very last thing on my list. Tarot is accurate. The cards are cards. They're neither accurate nor not accurate. It's your interpretation of the reading that's accurate or not. In fact, I used to always tell my students, tarot is always right. It's just how you interpret it, whether it's right or not. And then there's the whole accuracy conversation, and that's kind of a misconception too. And the tarot readers themselves, or card readers, Lenormand, Oracle cards, they do it too. They put on their website 98% accurate. How do you even know that? I mean, if you're going by, well, I said XYZ is going to happen and it happens, okay, but if I'm having a reading with you and I tell you, if you stay on, because you can only do readings from the now, you're always in the now. So people are making decisions in the past that creates a trajectory through the now into the future. And if they don't make changes, they're headed on a certain path. And the tarot can very accurately predict that. But if I tell you XYZ is going to happen and you decide, oh, I don't want that, and you make a whole bunch of separate decisions, which takes you in a different direction, and that thing that I talked about, a potential, I always say potential, future happening. If that doesn't happen, does that mean I'm not accurate? No, so that's my big one. What do you guys think about that? And then what else, other myths and misconceptions do you want to throw in?
Go, Michelle.
Okay, so here's what I think. When it comes to the accuracy of the tarot cards, I agree with you, Dax. It is about the interpretation, because you can pull out the cards and we all have that choice to go a different way than what the cards are saying. And so if we make a choice and it's not what the cards are saying, it's going to change the whole pathway.
I think that I really think that's the real power of tarot and doing tarot readings, is you can offer choices to people and they make the decision which direction they want to go in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not about accuracy, it's about just following the right path.
Yep. Anybody else got anything about the deck itself? Like, is it imbued with energy, from your great great grandmother? Or if I go out and buy a brand new Rider Waite deck from the store in shrink wrap and pull it out, can I still do readings?
Okay, here's part of it. It's about and I've been a stinker on this for over 45 years now. It's about free will. And when
Mm,
I'm going to do a reading for another person, what I'm doing for them is giving them the keys that they need to accomplish what they came here to accomplish. Now, if they choose to ignore it, and well, actually, sometimes the reading can be more than and it's not written in stone. It's cardboard and ink. And when you're looking at this, I mean, accuracy, yeah, the cards are absolutely, but it's the interpretation, like you said, Dax. It's got a lot to do with it, but it also has a lot to do with, like Michelle said, offering people options. So when you're doing a reading and you're looking ahead and you're saying, okay, here's what I'm seeing you are heading for. Now, if this is not what you would like to accomplish, let's explore some alternatives. And that seems to be, I
right.
mean, am I right or wrong? It doesn't matter.
It
What
doesn't
matters
matter.
is
Yeah.
the person I'm talking to, are they hearing me? Are they hearing what their
Exactly.
soul is telling them? Because it's their soul telling the cards what to show them.
Oh, by the way,
They
that's a
listen.
topic for a show that's coming up soon.
Is it?
Yeah, where we're going to actually talk about, how to get them to actually listen to you,
Oh,
especially
grab them
this
by the ears and say, listen.
especially the
No.
stubborn ones, right? But what
Right.
you just said, Pamela, leads really neatly into two other myths. One of my favorites, your first deck has to be gifted to you, and that tarot is evil or the work of the devil. Folks, it's a deck of cards. Okay. It does not need to be gifted to you. And it's not evil or the work of the devil. It's cards. It's cardstock. It's painted. It's, printed actually, but you know what I mean? It's like those really get me. Now,
Yeah.
my first ever deck was gifted to me. It was the Dragon Tarot. They knew that I was born the year of the dragon. And that was the very first deck that I ever had. It was gifted to me. I never once used it for a reading. I couldn't read from it. I went out and bought myself a universal weight deck, from US Games, and and that's the deck I used for years. But what do you guys think about that? It's like, I mean, have you guys come across where people have told you you're evil or the deck's evil or both?
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
Ellie, you tell me. Because you're the newest, you're the kid in the group. I want to hear what you've heard.
Yeah, I'm really lucky to live in an area on the West Coast where it seems like the majority of the population here is pretty open to people who are into the mystical, the magical. Maybe some of
Mm,
them even have an understanding of the value of it in a almost therapeutic sense. Like I told everyone a while back, I learned how to read in a more archetypal point of view. So the tarot cards more as a mirror in a way. So when people have questions about that, like for example, my mom actually stumbled into my room one day when she was walking around our apartment and she saw my cards and said, "What is this?" She freaked out on me. And I told her, "This is how I've been coping with everything going on, 2020. And it's helped me just kind of reflect on things." And she just kind of was taken aback for a second, but then she thought about it and she was like, "It's not weird stuff. You're not tapping into evil." I'm like, "No, Mom, no." And she comes from a background of like that religious kind of upbringing. I had to
yeah.
talk to her and just kind of let her know this is for me. This is reflective. It's actually helped me
Mhm.
cope with everything that's going on and help me kind of articulate why I'm feeling a certain way, how I can kind of move past those things. And she just kind of, okay, it's weird, but all right,
Yeah.
whatever. So she just kind of left me alone about it.
A
But
good analogy
yeah,
that I use with people is I remind them of that's and I can't remember it now. The psychology tests with the cards, Rorschach, or and it's just an amorphous image, and it's like, what do you see
Yep.
in that image? And it has nothing to do with the card or the image, because the image is it's not an image. It's It's
Symbols.
ink blots is what they are. And so, your subconscious and your mind is what's creating the association, and it's that simple. There's nothing mystical about that, and there's nothing evil about that or inherently good about that. It's just it's just it's just a thing, right? you know oh, I before we came on here, I was talking about how lucky I've been in, many, many decades, not really coming across anybody. In fact, most people are super curious. You go to a party, hey, what do? You tell them you're a hypnotherapist or a tarot reader, and instantly you're the most popular person in the entire, party there. But I just remembered while you were talking there, Ellie, I remembered that I was once in a bar here in Tucson, after our American Legion post shut down for the night, and we moved over to a bar that stays open till 2, in the morning, and hanging out with some friends from the Legion. And I had my deck with me, and I was pulling cards for them, and there was a couple down the bar a little bit, and I offered to pull cards for them, and they were like, no, no, it's like, it's against my religion, and I'm like, okay, sure. It's actually not against anybody's religion.
No.
Yeah. People that think it's against their religion are inaccurate. One of the big ones is Catholics. In back in the days when tarot was first being created, the 1400s, some say as early as the late 1300s, the Catholic Church banned things, but they didn't ban tarot. They banned gambling with cards. They didn't ban tarot. The aristocracy was the only ones that could afford these decks because there was no printing press yet. So every card, all 78, were painstakingly painted. You had to commission a deck from an artist. It cost, in today's money, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe like $10,000 to have a deck made up, and they use it all the time. And whether or not it was used for divination, nobody really knows, because there's nothing written down about divination till about the mid to late 1700s, where we know for sure they were using it for divination. But I suspect it was used for divination way earlier. It's just you're not going to write that stuff down.
No, but think about this too. When
Mhm.
people say, well, tarot cards are evil. Well, they're ink and paper. So you better avoid magazines and newspapers too, because it's just ink
Mhm.
and paper.
Mhm.
Nothing has any meaning until you assign it one. That's as
Right,
simple as
right.
it gets. And then if you've done any studies on symbolism and all, you'll realize that a lot of the symbols, like, you see the swastika and you think, oh my God, Nazi Germany, but that is an ancient symbol for peace. It goes back thousands of years, unlike the Celtic cross, which is not hundreds and thousands of years old. It was around 1910 it came out.
Mhm.
But I mean, people assign meanings, they assign ideas to these inanimate objects. I mean, this is our role as people. So it doesn't have to be. And I mean, as far as your area goes, I live in Redneck Central and I always have. But more people, everybody that I meet is more than curious about it. The only people I've met that were actually making the sign, against evil and backing away from me are people that have immigrated here from the other side of the world. And they're really, really uncomfortable with what they consider and have been taught is the occult. Now, my
Mm.
job is to
Yep.
re-educate people.
Mhm.
And I have never, ever, ever, the only people that have ever given me any grief, again, are people that are from far away. And even my husband, who doesn't speak a word of tarot, will say, nope, nope, that's not true. She's not like that.
Mhm.
Like, she's here to help.
Well, even the word occult just means uh not known by many. It
Exactly.
it just means information that's known by a few, you know, and
Mhm.
that's all it means really. Um, before we go on to the next one, give me just a second here. Maria says, I love the Morgan Greer deck.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to throw that in. And for those of you waiting on readings, don't forget we're going to get to you right after we're done with the topic. So the big one, the one we get all the time, the death card means someone or I am going to die.
Only if you keep saying that out loud.
Yes.
I take a middle approach to this. I'm not going to say something never means or always means anything. If you have the death card and you got some court cards and some other egregious cards all in a reading, there's a possibility, you know, it may be talking about a recent passing that, and it's something that you need to get through, you know, your mom or dad just died, or your brother or a friend or something. um it, Imminent death, I doubt that, you know, but the card on itself, you know, I just don't see that.
Transition.
It's just transition. And I love how a lot of the modern decks have reworded it or renamed it transition. And sometimes they have like a cocoon and a butterfly is coming out, you know, and that's a more accurate thing, way to describe it. You know, it's like the devil card. It's like, first of all, if you look at it closely, especially the Waite Smith versions, it's not a devil. It's a I actually forget the name for it. I almost said satyr, but it's not a satyr. It's
Like a satyr, but it's, yeah.
but if you look at it, the you have the two people and the devil, but it's not the devil. If you look closely, you see that it's made up of a lot of different creatures. You got the torso of a guy, of man. You got bat wings, you know, from a bat, you know, and horns, and you know, it's an amalgamate. It's made up. That's the main thing. The devil doesn't exist. You make him up, or hit or her in your head. You know, that kind of thing. Death card. What else? Oh, here's one that I love. You must be psychic to read the tarot. Does anybody here think you have to be psychic to read the tarot?
Psycho, maybe
Maybe
psychic,
psycho.
not.
Yeah, definitely Michelle, you know, or Dan. He's really psychic. You know,
Yes, yes, he is.
and he's a certified reader. Um, Again, you know, it goes back to, it's a deck of cards and it's pictures and symbols, and our minds think in pictures and symbols and ideas. It doesn't, we don't think in language. We think in, you know, it's like looking at remember the um phrase people would say, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words,
Mhm.
because you're looking at that image and it has all different things in it and symbols, and it has all this meaning, and your mind constructs a meaning which could be several paragraphs long if it was written out, but you instantly get it when you look at it. I mean, that's how hypnosis works. When we do hypnotherapy with people, we're just using symbolism, you know, and that's why there's this, you know, big connection between the two. And anybody that studies the mind, you know, I find that when I talk to people that are my colleagues that do hypnosis, you know, like something like 70-80% of them, oh yeah, I've studied tarot, you know. And then when I talk to tarot readers, they go, oh yeah, I studied hypnosis, NLP. It's very, very common, very common. So no, you do not need to be psychic. Now, does that mean uh people aren't psychic? Or, I mean, you're using intuition. It's a big part of it, you know, to know what symbols in the various cards in a spread that you're doing for a reading, and in conjunction with the question that the client asked, you're using your intuition to create a story, because all those cards in your spread can mean a whole bunch of different things. And so, yeah, you're using your intuition. Now, you don't have to be, born into a family of psychics. Anybody can learn to read cards, learn them on oracle cards, tarot. Oh, here's
You
another one.
know,
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to add on. I was going to add on to the one about the, being called the devil and whatnot. I have this
Sure.
great deck. It's the biblical tarot. I use this with my Christian friends or my
Oh, there you
religious
go.
friends. And it cards have scriptures on them. And
Mm.
so you can use tarot with your religious friends.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with, you're doing readings. If you do readings for kids,
Yep.
teenagers, there's all these theme decks you can use, all these, I mean, my God, there's an angel tarot,
Oh,
I
yes.
mean,
Angel
and
Wisdom
look,
Tarot.
oh, and look, Ellie put up one,
Yeah.
Angel Wisdom Tarot. There you go. That's what I was getting at, was that there's a lot of not so scary
Yeah.
versions of tarot.
Like a gentler approach where it gives
Yeah.
it less of that kind of,
Yeah.
theatrical tarot with the destruction or the tower and the devil.
Yeah.
It's renamed to like their essence, where it's transformation. It's just
And I like that better
things that are
myself
changing.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a lot of oracle decks don't have the scary stuff in it at all, unless it's a Halloween deck, but that's just for fun. But
Yeah.
a lot of oracle decks are very, there's often no structure, and it's just various ideas that you're working with from the cards. Yeah.
Well, and that says something about symbolism, because if you think about it, you said earlier, Dax, that a picture's
Mm-hmm.
worth 1,000 words. And how many of you actually speak Italian?
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the most famous art in the world is done by the Italians or the old Dutch or whatever,
Right.
These languages are, some of them are even a little dead now. Like you don't really speak them that well, Latin for one. And you look at a sculpture
Yeah.
that was done during the time of Rome, and that language itself really doesn't even exist anymore in that natural form. But if you were to talk to the artist and say, what do you wouldn't understand a word they said, but when you're looking at the work that the artist produces, you feel something and it's really authentic. And that's that authenticity you're looking for. You're looking for the authentic feeling behind the image. And that takes it to a whole different level.
Exactly. Exactly. And going back to, it's just a deck of stock cards, or in my case, PVC material, which I just love. It shuffles really good. If you're thinking about getting your first deck, get a foil deck off Amazon. I mean, made from PVC material. It shuffles so good. But the next one that I wrote, it goes along with that. It's just a deck of cards. No one should touch your cards, or the opposite. Clients must touch your cards in order for it to work. Now, I know from experience that that's absolutely not true, because 99% of my readings are via Zoom, like we're doing right now. So they can't touch the cards, but there's various ways if you want to involve your client. I always say the deck of cards is a tool.
Yes.
Nothing mystical about it. And it's a tool for the reader, actually, not really for the client. Now, more in when you're in person and they want to look at the cards and things like that, it can be a lot of fun. But sometimes I don't even show them the cards. We do it on the shows here, but when I'm, one-on-one with somebody, they ask a question, I put cards down and I go, yep, nope. Give them information, give them ideas, give them choices. They don't even need to see the cards. Now, if you're one of the readers that want them more involved, you can shuffle the deck and then you can go, okay, I'm gonna pick where to start. You tell me when to stop. Okay. and then I'll pull it off like that, and I'll start reading off the top. Or you can spread them out, and if you have one of those like Pamela does, a down facing camera, you can spread them out and you can move your finger along and tell me where to stop. Okay, pull a card. Tell me where to stop. You know, if you want to do the fanned out, or if you want to help them cut the deck virtually, you can do that. So they don't need to, but there are, you know, some people that have this myth about um, they need to imbue their energy into the cards, and then I have to cleanse the cards between each reading because I'm having them put their energy into it. Now, there's the other people that are on the other side where it's like it's the same mythology, but it's turned where it's like my energy is in the deck. I can't let anybody else touch it. Maybe cut it. You know, I can shuffle it, put it there, cut the deck for me. Okay. But that's it. You know, they really shouldn't hold them and stuff like that. To me, you know, if you have a ritual about that, I like always say go for it. You know, I don't want to change anybody's mind on anything. I'm just telling from my point of view, it's just a deck of cards, people. You know, I don't care if they touch it or don't touch it. You know, in fact, actually, if anything, I lean towards not touching. And the reason for that is practical. It has absolutely nothing to do with energy being imbued and all that kind of thing. Even though I ritualistic, Pam, you know this, I ritualistically shuffle and go knock the energy out of it. You know, it's
He
just
knocks, I blow. Does that make sense?
yeah. We're backwards. You know, anyway, I should be the one. Anyway, but the
We're
but
not
it's
going to go there today, Dax. We're really not.
it's a ritual I do. If I'm in person with somebody and I shuffle and I do the knocking, if they ask, I tell them, oh, I'm just knocking the old energy out, you know. And do I really think that's happening? No, but it's for show. It's my ritual. It's the thing I do. If you have rituals, you know, do them. But I don't want them touching my cards. And the reason has nothing to do with energy. It's practicality. It's like, did you send them to the washroom to wash their hands before you handed them your deck? Or did they go to the bathroom and come back and you said, did you ask them, did you wash your hands? You know, I mean, this actually, it's funny because it actually came to light really big around COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody stopped letting people touch their cards because well, first of all, during the shutdown, obviously we were doing all the readings via Skype, but you know, or yeah, back then we had actually still had Skype and Zoom, but then those that could still do in-person readings, you know, wouldn't let anybody touch their deck. You know, in fact, they had sanitizers sitting next to them and everything like that, you know. Plus, the other reason is a lot of readers, the ones that are like, oh, you need to imbue your energy into the deck. Here, shuffle the deck. A lot of people don't know how to shuffle, or they're not very good at it. I've been doing it for 30 years. I'm not good at it. I muddle my way through shuffling decks. You know, I do a little, you know, overhand here, and I do a little. Oh, my deck just flew away, and I do some rifling and some stuff like that. But yeah, you know, they came to you for a reason. They have questions, and you know, I want them to think of the question and the situation surrounding it. I don't want them to try to do that and shuffle the deck. They're going to have a hard time, you know. And some of the decks, you know, I use cheap decks. I'll be honest with you, you know, but you know, some of the decks that we get, you know, like Steel Wizard, you know, Steel Wizard isn't super expensive though. We didn't do our weekly check on is it on sale this week. But some people have artist decks that those are limited edition decks that are made by the deck creator before it goes to mass production at a publisher. And so, yeah, the published deck is $18, but the artists, they only made 150 copies. Each one was, $150 or $100 a piece or $85. I'm not letting people touch that.
No.
So what's all your thoughts on that, guys?
I I am 100% the opposite. I kind of, when I start sitting down with someone, I will kind of size up the situation, the energy of the room. Um, and if I feel like, they look like, act like they're ready to shuffle and they're all in for it, I will offer for them to shuffle. If I feel like they're just, not sure, I'll say you're more than welcome to shuffle. You don't have to shuffle. During the reading, I will show them the cards as I'm laying them down. And sometimes I'll tell them, okay, now if you take this card and you put it over here, we can start working and changing some options. And so I let them move some of the cards around. If my deck is down and we've done a spread, sometimes I'll say, you know what, just grab a card that you feel is comfortable for you. And then they'll hand it to me and I'll be like, okay, this is your confirmation card. So yeah, I try to get them fully involved.
Awesome. That's an awesome way to do it.
Yeah.
And again, like so many of us, we read on Zoom, so there's no way to interact with the client that way. In
Right.
fact, some of us, like for instance, Dr. Rose, I was helping her the other day set up her page. She wanted a separate page on the Psychic Cafe website, which I'm happy to do for any of our members. So that when people go to her profile and go to the about page, she says a little spiel and then book a reading with me, check out my my services page, and then there's a link, and when they click it, it goes right to her services page, and on there are I think she has like 3 different readings, a one question one, and then more in depth. And but all of her readings are via email. She never meets with the client either in person or on Zoom. She has communication with them via email. They ask questions. She pulls cards, writes up a response, and sends it to them, maybe with the pictures of the cards. I don't know. I haven't asked her if she does, but that's typically what people do if they read via email. So, there's many situations where you never, ever come in contact with the client physically, so there's no way for them to shuffle or not shuffle. They can't shuffle, but there are ways you can get them involved if you are doing a Zoom reading. Then there's parties, and there's psychic fairs, and when you're in person with somebody, there's going to be natural curiosity about the cards. However, those of you that want to have a more it's my tool and a standoffish situation reading, I want to let you know it's okay. And the reason why I'm want to let you know that is because the vast majority of clients I've ever had didn't care one lick about the cards. They didn't care to see them. They want their questions answered. That's all. It's like it goes into other modalities like hypnosis and EFT and
Life
NLP
coaching.
and life coaching,
Yeah.
where everybody, you see their business card and it says, certified astrologer, tarot reader, life coach. It lists all these modalities out. People either A, don't even know what those modalities are, B, totally do not care. Are you solving their problem? And it's the same thing when you sit down with a client and they have questions. They want their questions answered. They don't care how you come to the answers. For the majority, yeah, there might be, 5, 10%, 15% that are curious to see the cards. Sometimes there are people that dabble in tarot. They're not professionals, but they're getting a professional reading from you, and so they're kind of curious to see the cards. Most of the people, they couldn't care less. Anyway, we're time's getting away from us. It is 11:40. Let's go through some of these other ones real quick here. There's all the there's
bring
all
this
the
up too. There's no actual rules in tarot. Everything. Okay.
yes, that's another thing.
There are some generally agreed upon good ideas.
Mhm.
Okay. But the rules
Sure.
themselves are they kind of go out the window once you master your craft.
Mhm.
And that means nobody's actually 100% right or 100% wrong. It has everything to do with how you relate to your clientele. And if they're coming back and they're happy and they're referring people to you, be it online or in person, it doesn't really hold water. It has everything to do with your commitment to your craft.
Mhm. And there is no rule book, just like you said.
No.
That also goes in, dovetails nicely into one of the ones I had. You need to know all the meanings before you begin.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't. You can pull cards, you can look at symbols, you can get feelings and ideas from just looking at the cards. And what you said about there's not any rules, there's also no such thing as cards need to, each card means a very specific thing. It doesn't. It's whatever, as you're learning and you're actually programming a second language into your subconscious. It's the language of tarot, and the cards mean what they mean to you. So there's no rule book. So that fits along nicely there with what Pamela had to say. And then the origin myths, they're from Atlantis. They were created by in the ancient past by Egyptians and brought forth by the Romani, the gypsies. Actually, gypsies read palms and didn't start using tarot cards until the 20th century.
Yep.
I love that one. So yeah, no one knows who came up with the idea, and so we know about playing cards and how they go back, to the Middle East and all the way east to China. But as far as the tarot itself, we don't have a clue. And so anybody that tells you that this is, if anybody that tells you either way, they're wrong. They're wrong. If they tell you, oh, it was just made as a game and it means nothing else, it's just a game, and the symbolism and everything that's in it never meant anything. They don't know that. And then the people on the other side, oh, it's this mysterious thing that was created, by the alchemists and blah, blah, blah. We don't know that either. No one knows. So when they tell you, oh, it's just a deck of cards and the symbols and the individual cards and none of it means nothing, I don't believe that either. There's too many connections and synchronicities, for it to be just a game. But also, some of the crazier things they came from Lemuria. I mean,
no.
I don't
What
believe those
what
either.
about here's one of my favorites.
Aliens.
You read tarot, you must be a witch. Okay, I own a hammer. I'm not a carpenter. All right. It's a tool.
Yes.
That's it. That's all. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people realize is that, I mean,
That's actually a misconception that happens
it
quite a bit.
is.
Yeah.
It
So
really is.
not all witches use tarot.
No,
Exactly.
And not all people that use tarot are witches.
not all, some, but not
Some.
all.
Michelle,
Exactly.
but I'm not.
But yeah, well, I've been accused of that, but actually, and it's usually said with a B instead of a W.
Right.
We all know that Pamela's a witch.
I am a lot of things.
I am a lot of things. Oh, so let's see. What else did I say? You need to know all the meanings before you begin. No, you don't. You can just pick up a deck of cards and start learning. Learn through experience. Do readings for people. Lay cards out and ask okay. So you're trying to do some readings. get some practice in, get your family, your best friend, maybe you're doing a sleepover and you got your fuzzy shoes on and you're laying in the bed, and you ask them, lay the cards out. What do you see in that card? And what do you see in this card? And just start doing it that way. The other thing is you must learn reversals. Reversals is actually a more modern invention, and you don't need to know reversals. There are many, many people that read for their entire career and never use reversals. I don't use reversals, and I think of the meaning of a card as a spectrum of meaning. And it's dependent on what's the question being asked, what are the surrounding cards in the spread. That'll tell me, is it leaning this way on the spectrum of meaning or this way on the spectrum of meaning? And so therefore I never use reversals. If you use reversals, great, but you don't have to. And that's another myth or misconception. People read it in books and they think they have to read reversals. You don't have
Well, I know why I read with reversals, because I don't feel like I'm playing with the full deck if I don't.
There you go. There's a lot of people that feel that way. Back when I first started out, and we the Tarot Guild wasn't the Tarot Guild yet. It was the San Diego Tarot Meetup. We had hundreds of members, built it up from 55 to 400 members. And we'd get together, and a lot of the readers, their decks were this big. And the reason they were that big was because they were double decks. They would take two identical universal weight decks and stick them together, and half the deck was reversals and the other half the deck was not. And the way they would do that is often one way they would do it is the white border on a traditional US Games deck back then. They would marker them or paint them black or another color. So the white ones meant upright, and the reverse ones were still upright, but they had the color around the edge. They knew that that was to be taken on this side of the spectrum. And that to me was the most accurate way of doing reversals rather than forcing reversal. Another reason I never got into I tried it 30 years ago and I just couldn't get into it. And another one reason is I felt it was so contrived that I had to manipulate the deck. The way I shuffle my deck, I never get cards that are upside down unless it was an accident. And people will lay the cards out in piles and flip one or two of the piles and then shuffle together to force reversals. But the problem is now those reversals, those cards that are upside down are stuck that way. And now you can't ever have that come up as upright unless you go through the deck and restack the deck all upright and start all over again. That's why I love the people that were doing 156 card decks where they're all upright. It's just one's marked as upright and one's marked as reversal. There's got to be a better way to say this. It's at one end of the spectrum compared to the other end of the spectrum, and
Right.
at least both the upright and reversed of each card was always in the deck, so it had the potential of coming up. And that just appeals to me because I'm very logical. I'm not as artsy crafty. It's like I'm more left brain than right brain. And so it especially when I started using apps, like I use Orpheus a lot on PC before I switched to Apple, and now that program doesn't work unless I get a emulator. But when you go into that program and you set the settings the way you want it to, like is the cards going to come up face down and then you tap it with your mouse and it flips, or are they all going to show upright from the get-go? There's all these settings, right? In there, you can set reversals, and then it asks you, well, what percentage do you want? 10, 20%, 30% reversals, 40, 50% reversals. That is so contrived. And that was my whole thing against reversals. Anyway, get off my soapbox now, but If you use reversals, hey, a lot of people, it works really well for them. They are fabulous readers. Oh, we just got a
Super chat.
super chat. It's been so long since we got a super chat. I forgot what they're called. Thanks, doll.
Yeah, thank you, doll.
Yeah, that's really cool. They had a couple of messages, but they retracted them. If you want a reading, just pop it in there. We'll go right to that. We have some time, I think, to hit a couple of questions anyway. I didn't have time to get into Jimmy's reading, so Jimmy, I'll do it on the next Sunday. And speaking of that, let's talk about that. Well, first of all, I want to mention I did launch the summer sale for those of you that didn't see it. It's 20% off everything. So memberships, my course, certification, my readings. We also have on the certification page on the website, there's a membership and certification package deal where you're already saving 25%. You get another 20% off when you're on the payment page for any of these. Just go and look for where it says add coupon, put in the coupon code summer 2025, and it'll take 20% off automatically. That's right. If you want to grab us a cup of coffee, psychic.cafe/coffee. Read about the guild and all the fabulous benefits of being a member. Sorry, I got a scratchy throat going on here. It's not just for professionals. You get a lot of benefits as just one of our viewers. And so go check it out at psychic.cafe/guild. If you click on join, remember, put in that code, get your 20% off. Read about certification. Now, let me do some water, folks. It feels like there's a feather in the back of my throat. I hate that. Get certified at psychic.cafe/certification. If you're already a member, the link for certification is on the private members group. And you click that link, remember to put in summer 2025 in the coupon. If you're not a member, at the bottom of the certification page, there's a membership and certification package deal. That's where you get that. You get 25% off, put in the coupon, you get an additional 20% off. You're going to save 45%. And then in my course, also, of course, my course includes membership and certification free. So when you enroll, you get both of those, and you can pop in the summer sale code and save 20% more off that. And we want to invite you to become a host on our network. Read all about it, all the possibilities at psychic.cafe/host. You can be up here with me and Pam and Ellie and Michelle and everybody else. And then coming up on the network next Saturday, July 19th, Michelle's Mystic Corner, moving forward with confidence, right, Michelle?
That's right.
Woo-hoo.
That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, we're halfway through July already. And then a week from today, I cannot get rid of this thing in my throat. Sunday, July 20th, how to get clients as a psychic, medium, or tarot reader. And then the following weekend, let's see, finishing up July is, of course, Crown Share Saturday. Bring your deck on July 26th. And then here's the one I was talking about. Sunday, July 27th. How to get stubborn tarot reading clients to listen to you. And then we're already in August 9th. And I wanted to mention this because there will be no show. I got to bring up my calendar real quick here. The beginning of each month, we take the first Saturday off. We're also taking Sunday the 3rd off, and that's because there's 5 Sundays. So we're taking Saturday and Sunday off the first Saturday and Sunday of August. So the first show won't be until Saturday, August 9th. Major versus minor arcana cards in the tarot, and that Sunday. Has a tarot reading ever been wrong? Which we kind of talked about today. And so you already have a hint what we're going to talk about. That was a question from Dr. Rose. Hopefully Rose will be able to join us on that Sunday because that's her topic. Awesome sauce. So let's see. Did
Okay, I'm
Dawn?
gonna have to go here real quick. So Doll,
Sure.
she asked me to read. Her question is, what advice do you have regarding my contract I'm applying for this week? And I'm gonna have to go here in about 5 minutes.
Go
So
ahead.
can I do that?
Yeah. Of
Okay,
course.
first card I
Yeah.
pulled represents you, darling. And this card tells me that you have been through enough, but you've managed to keep your armor flexible. So whatever's going on around you, allow whatever is happening. Don't look at it like you did before, but just look at it with a fresh pair of eyes, because her motto is strength and honor. And you have the strength and you have the integrity and you have everything else you need. You also might want to get a second opinion, but in this case, just take it slow and steady, okay? Because it's a good contract. Essentially, you know what needs to be taken out. You need to be very aware of the fact that it's written on paper and not stone, and counter offer if you feel you need to, because I mean, it can be anything from royalties to what you actually are giving them in that contract. You don't have to give them anything other than what you're intending it for. Everything else can be whatever, like that's negotiable. And if you don't like it, take it out. And the final thing is you've got the universe here, which is, this is the outcome card. And the outcome here is functioning as a total being, allowing your intuitive natural abilities to perceive truth and know truth and understand it, where it applies to you and how it's going to impact your life, plus keeping your feet on the ground and allowing it all to flow through into creating what you choose to experience. Because when it shines the light down and we fracture it into all of these things we call emotions, just remember that this is how you're coloring your world. Color it with bright colors, color it with truth, and color it with your own essence. And that way you cannot go wrong. You got this. Okay, doke.
Wow. Great one, Pamela. And thanks for being here. I know you need to leave,
Yes.
and you pop off whenever you need. But I was going to try to get one or two more questions in. The first question was from first name. Ellie, can you do this one? I've been offered a part-time job, but the hours I work have changed, so has the duration of my shift. If I take the job, will I be able to reduce the hours? Will I be happy there? That's kind of like two questions, but anything you can pull for first name. That was first name, last name. And then Michelle, do you got the next question from Maria? I'm wondering, which month do you see Philip moving out? Apparently he got an apartment, which is a miracle. We've been talking about Philip and Maria for like months now. So if you want to do hers, and Ellie's going to pop on and do first names. But thanks everybody for being here. You're on mute, Pam. Okay. Ellie's shuffling away. Look at all those boxes. Oh my God.
All right, everyone. Let's see. So first name. The cards that I got for you are really interesting. First and foremost, the Oracle card here that was wanted to speak here. See if that'll focus. This card says thinking. So this is in reference to the thinking function of the, like, when you think about the MBTI, like the personality. So it's almost giving the sense of your main focus right now is this particular role and how it's going to affect you. So it's a really good kind of like start to the main thing you should be focused on, in other words. So really thinking out, okay, what is it that I truly want? What is it that this opportunity will bring me? What is it that I might have to sacrifice in return? That kind of energy. So overall, it just really aligned with like your approach to the situation is perfect, spot on. Now, in regards to the question of the flexibility, I think it was, if it was going to offer you flexibility, if it was going to align with what you want, we got the Empress card. So a very good sign here. The Empress card, again, being that symbol of fertility, it is potential, it is creativity, and it almost feels like it'll put you in a position where you will be able to kind of not dictate that, but you'll be able to set those boundaries, set those standards and say, hey, yeah, I can go ahead and work with this schedule. However, I am going to need to compromise a little bit, again, with that thinking card, just kind of getting those wheels turning and saying, would you consider this? Just kind of setting those boundaries in a way. And again, the Empress is in that position to say, I can create, I can bring what you want into existence, but I do need to set my expectations. I do need to set my boundaries in order for me to be at my best to create, to bring this forth. For the second part of the question, I think it was about, sorry, Dex, can you remind me what was the second part of the question? I know it had something to do with
Sure.
work or
If I take the job, will I be able to reduce the hours and will I be happy there?
will I be happy there? Okay, that's what I was kind of stuck on there. So in essence, the outcome, what is going to happen if you take this job? So will you be happy there? The main focus here is the star card. So one thing that really struck me with the star card is the keyword potential. I think it is a very good sign that the star card did come out. However, it also wants you to take into consideration that aspect of the give and take kind of energy with the Empress setting her boundaries, right? I can do this for you, but please understand that this is going to be what I require, or I can do this and I do want to accept this position. I really think this is great. However, I do have, a few stipulations, that kind of thing, where it's more of a balanced kind of approach to it. And the star card, again, feeling kind of like that hope, that potential, that is there. So with a little bit of that thinking function, where we got in the Oracle card, a little bit of that thinking, planning, and just kind of communicating out what the expectation is and what you would like to have in return as well. And just kind of setting that out kindly, gently, and just being very straightforward about expectations, I think can really help manifest this energy that we're seeing here with both the Empress and the Star card, two cards that are very much full of potential, hope, and honestly just feels good. So hopefully that helps, and best of luck.
Awesome sauce. 12:03. We're not doing too bad here.
No.
Michelle, you got
Maria's,
was it?
yes. So for you, Maria, I pulled the first two cards I pulled are both fours. We've got the 13 and the 31. Okay. So I also pulled the anchor, which is 35, which boils down to an 8. Now let me explain all that. Here's what Philip is. He is still on a childlike view of being happy and stable with you, even though he knows this is no longer reality, hence why he did get the apartment. So the 2 4s indicate a month here and a month here. So the 8 is going to show 2 months. You've got 2 months before he fully moves out into his own apartment. So that's what I'm seeing for you. And in that time, you need to be strong, stand your ground, and make him start moving his stuff into his own place. So that's what I have for you.
Be strong.
Yes.
Yes. Oh. And that's it, folks. Fun show. Thanks to everyone for being here, especially Pamela and Ellie. And
yes,
it was a lot of fun. That's all we had time for as far as readings go. And if you had a question, we didn't get to it, you can book a session with Ellie or Michelle or Pamela or myself, or wait till Saturday. The next show, let me pop that on here again. And again, if you're enjoying the show, psychic.cafe/coffee. That's like our tip jar. You can grab us a cup of coffee. Saturday, July 19th, Moving Forward with Confidence. That's our next show. And she'll be doing readings, of course, on that show. And next Sunday, we'll be here. What is next Sundays again? That's the how to get clients as a psychic, medium, or tarot reader. So everybody that can come and give us all your tips and tricks and different ways to promote and different reading styles. Do you do parties? Do you do individual? Do you do psychic fairs? We'll get into all that. Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Michelle. Ellie.
Bye,
Take care, everyone.
Ellie.
Yay.